Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Bruce Frisco. It is Monday, the 16th day of March. This is CTV News. Tonight, businesses struggle to steady prices amid ever-rising fuel costs. Bracing for cuts, New Brunswick budget expected to trim spending. And guarding health care, the pushback against privatization.
Live from our Maritimers News Center, this is CTV News. Here is Bruce Frisco.
Good evening. As the war in Iran continues to rage, there are no easy answers in sight to end it, and gas prices are starting to impact businesses. Those costs will doubtless be passed on to consumers over time, meaning higher inflation. CTV's Emma Convey has more.
This courier company makes up to 150 deliveries a day. Trips could be anywhere in the greater Halifax area. Their vehicles all rely on gas.
Gas is getting more expensive. I think everybody realizes it from driving themselves as well as when they need to have things delivered. So it's an unfortunate element of the business.
The plan is to hold back on passing the cost onto the customer, but that may become difficult with the continued rise in fuel prices. Gas jumped by 6.7 cents per litre over the weekend in Nova Scotia, bringing it to just over $1.68. Diesel is now $2.20. In New Brunswick, gasoline increased to $1.69.8. Diesel at almost $2.24. While prices are now 180.3 cents per litre in PEI, diesel is a little over $2.32 per litre.
Right across the country, a rather dramatic increase, which doesn't seem to be halting, although one would think that by Wednesday of this week, we could actually see things drop a tiny bit, maybe as they did last Thursday, maybe dropping a penny for gasoline and maybe 3 or 4 cents a litre for diesel. Markets are taking a wait-and-see approach.
McTagg says the net increase for gasoline across the Maritimes has been about 20 cents a litre since February 27th. That's behind the rest of Canada, but to motorists here, an increase is an increase.
We're not driving unless we absolutely need to. So it's almost on an emergency basis.
All of these fuel prices that are going up abnormally high are impacting people's lives, the affordability.
Oil and, offshore drilling, and that they still get away with charging this much. It doesn't make any sense.
Emma Convey, CTV News.
A big day in New Brunswick tomorrow. The Holt government is set to hand down its provincial budget, and it is expected to contain some cuts. CTV's Nick Moore spoke with a number of groups concerned about what might come.
The Susan Holt Liberal government is approaching its second budget with the highest deficit in New Brunswick history at $1.3 billion.
I think this will really be a turning point for the whole government. This week, to me, is a kind of a starting point for them dealing with some of the things that they promised they would do in the 2024 campaign and maybe not fulfilling those promises and figuring out how to communicate why they fell short in certain areas.
The New Brunswick Federation of Labor is expecting an austerity budget on Tuesday.
We're going into it expecting, always expect the worst. We just have a feeling that cuts are coming, and we're prepared to do whatever it is that we need to do as an organization to support workers should the cuts come down.
I don't think it's a matter of if there are going to be cuts to tourism, heritage, and culture. I think it's a matter of what is being cut, how how do they shave the budget, and how is it going to affect our individual properties.
On Friday, at a healthcare announcement, Premier Holt said every department, including health, would be expected to get spending under control. Recently, Nova Scotia's Tim Houston government introduced budget cuts of up to $130 million, walking back $53.6 million of those cuts after a large public outcry. Finance Minister Renee Legacy is expected to read his budget speech around 1 p.m. tomorrow. Nick Moore, CTV News, St. John.
If you can hear your house creaking and rocking on this blustery night, you're certainly not alone. We're getting another weather disturbance as we speak, although this one is primarily wind and rain in the Halifax area. Both have been picking up all day, and things will get worse before they eventually get better. Scattered power outages have been slowly increasing in both New Brunswick and Nova Scotia over the course of the evening. All right, the weather is another big story in this kind of blustery Monday evening. Let's bring in Kaylin Mitchell over there in the CTV Atlantic Weather Center. And this one, I guess, is going to rage overnight, right?
Yeah, it's already a very rainy and windy night for parts of the Maritimes, and that type of weather does continue on into tomorrow for the region, and in some cases, the winds are even going to increase into Tuesday morning, and we do have some wind warnings in effect. Let's start off, though, with the rain from this weather system, because that is expected to be heavy for some parts of the region and add up to some higher totals. So here's an outlook into overall potential rainfall amounts of this weather system. For much of the Maritimes, the overall totals will be between around 10 and 30 millimeters of rain. Now, remember, the ground is still frozen in the region, so that'll contribute to runoff, as will any melting snow and ice around the Maritimes. There are areas, though, that could see higher rainfall amounts, potentially 30 to 60 millimeters, maybe within some localized pockets as high as 60 to 80, and that is most likely right in the south of New Brunswick, especially in and just inland of the Bay of Fundy coastline, as well as for the Atlantic coastal counties of Nova Scotia. And that's where the risk of some localized flooding is going to be a little bit higher. And because of that, we do have rainfall warnings in effect for Charlotte County, St. John County, and Kings County in New Brunswick, and then for the Tri-County region in Nova Scotia and up and down the Atlantic coastline of the mainland of that province. A special weather statement extends up towards Fredericton, saying that overall rainfall totals could be in the range of around 20 to 30 millimeters. We also have wind warnings in effect across the south of New Brunswick and all across Nova Scotia. Tomorrow, southerly gusts to 90 kilometers per hour, except stronger than that in northern Inverness County in Cape Breton. Northern Inverness County actually underneath an elevated orange wind warning, because there some of the peak wind gusts could reach 120 kilometers per hour. I'll have more on the timing of this weather system, what to expect in behind it when I'm back a little bit later on. Bruce.
And it's not just the high winds and the heavy rain tonight. A lot of folks in southern New Brunswick are on edge, especially those who live along the St. John River. Parts of the river are still frozen, while others have started to open up. The experience, though, has demonstrated that things can change very quickly at this time of year.
That said, some of the smaller waterways, brooks, streams, those tend to fill up quickly. So you could see some localized flooding in those types of things. In terms of significant big waterways, like nothing from this one.
In the Glen Falls and east side areas of St. John, typically we get to do some localized flooding, so we'll be watching for those.
St. John City crews have been preparing for upwards of 50 millimeters of rain, which, as Kaylin mentioned, combined with the frozen ground and the melting snow, could cause some problems around the port city.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Police in New Glasgow investigating the death of a woman whose body was found in a public space near a building complex on Glasgow Street. Police say they got the call around 9 p.m. last night. They've identified the victim as an adult woman, but they have not released her name. The medical examiner is assisting with the investigation, but officials say the death does not appear to be suspicious and there is no risk to public safety. Police in Cape Breton still looking for the driver involved in a hit and run along the Louisburg Highway over the weekend that took the life of a 23-year-old woman. Here's CTV's Ryan McDonald.
Police were called shortly before noon on Sunday to this section of highway between Kristen Court and Hills Road and Albert Bridge. They say when officers arrived, the body of a young woman was found near the roadway and parts of a vehicle were also discovered, adding that although police were not called until late Sunday morning, they believe the collision happened sometime Saturday night. Forensic Ident, along with the traffic safety unit, are investigating, and police are still piecing together what kind of vehicle they are looking for.
Through the initial investigation, it was determined that it was a 23-year-old female who was deceased and a victim of a hit and run. There's no leads on the vehicle right now. Police are determining the make and model of the vehicle from some of the evidence left at the scene.
Meanwhile, police say they continue to look for tips from the public as the investigation continues. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Albert Bridge, Nova Scotia.
The widow of one of the 3 RCMP constables shot and killed in Moncton in 2014 is speaking out about the future of a memorial site that honors their memory. Nadine Larch spoke to Moncton City Council this afternoon about development plans for the riverfront area, including upgrades to trails and green spaces around the memorial site.
I have serious concerns about initial proposals placing active recreational uses immediately beside this space, such as pump tracks, essentially a skateboard park, but for bikes, a splash area or a playground. I've also heard suggestions about moving the monument, which I strongly oppose.
City planners say there are no plans to move the memorial and note that the overall plan is still a long way from being finalized. 3 Dartmouth companies are getting more than $3 million from the federal government. Money comes from the Regional Defense Investment and Regional Tariff Response initiatives. Most of the funds are repayable loans for projects in Nova Scotia's aerospace and defense sectors, including training, product development, and manufacturing equipment.
By increasing capacity, improving productivity, and building a skilled workforce, we're helping ensure that companies here can continue contributing to Canada's defense industrial base.
Atlantic Canada is home to nearly 10,000 direct aerospace and defense jobs, representing about 20%, in fact, of national defense industry employment. Here's something you may not have known. There was a burn ban in place for the entire province of Nova Scotia until this afternoon. With snow on the ground and all the rain in the forecast, you may be wondering why. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness went looking for some answers today.
It's officially wildfire season in Nova Scotia, and despite the fact there's snow on the ground in many regions, the entire province was under a burn ban yesterday until mid-afternoon today.
So we look at the best wildfire science data from our 31 weather stations across the province. We make the call at 2 p.m. daily if those restrictions should change.
Gordon Delano, the executive director of the Department of Natural Resources, admits it's been a busy last few years for wildfires. All of last year's fires are now out, but crews are still keeping an eye on those areas.
The department will be monitoring those sites to ensure that we don't have any spot fires that start up again. Certainly that is a thing in wildfire management, to continually monitor those sites for the safety of everyone around.
DNR has 300 staff heading into this year, ready to be deployed to hot spots around the province. And fire crews will be working with some new equipment this summer if needed. 4 new fixed-wing water bomber aircraft and 4 new helicopters have been purchased.
Certainly very exciting, and again, it'll really set us up well for wildfire season.
2 of the new helicopters are already here. The other 2 are expected to arrive next month. Wildfire season in Nova Scotia runs from mid-March until mid-October, unless it's extended like it was in 2025. Jonathan McGuinness, CTV News, Halifax.
A new report commissioned by St. Andrew's Council confirms there are some pressing repairs needed at the town wharf. The structural engineering assessment found 2 sections of the wharf which require immediate work, with a recommendation traffic be reduced on a section attached to the town's Day Adventure Center. Experts say the work should be tackled soon and in stages.
So it's trying to do a workaround so we don't just basically put up barriers and say, no, we can't use a wharf for 3 months, whatever period of time.
And last year, council voted against a refurbishment plan after all the tender bids came in over budget. There was also concern from some residents about what the new wharf would be looking like. The town says the new options will be presented to the public in the next few months. Okay, still to come tonight, Caitlin's full forecast, and we'll examine how high gas prices are renewing interest in electric vehicles around here. Coming up next, though, health care for hire.
People will be getting their health care based on their ability to pay and not their health care need.
Changes in Alberta have paved the way for some private services, and critics want to see it stopped. That's next. Stay with us.
With Aaron and Peter. Win your share of $10,000 with Aaron and Peter's payroll.
Register now at move100halifax.ca and listen for your name starting at 8 a.m.
Public health advocates in the Maritimes are worried about what they're seeing way out in Alberta. They fear proposed legislation there could bring more private health services into our system here. CTV's Jesse Thomas has details.
If we allow for-profit health care to be established in the country, we know what these medical insurance companies are like. They're very aggressive. They have already shown interest, and they don't want to stay just in Alberta.
Proposed changes to health legislation in Alberta would allow doctors to work in both a public and private health system. Offering this kind of health care system would only benefit those who can afford it, said Benoit.
The concern is that people will be getting their health care based on their ability to pay and not their health care needs.
And across the country, health coalitions held information rallies like this one in Ontario. And the chair of the Canadian Health Coalition is calling on the federal government to intervene.
The federal government is going to have to step up for Canadians and step up for health care, because as it stands right now, we know it's illegal and there needs to be step up, be clear, denounce it, and put a stop to it.
The Nova Scotia Health Coalition argues the dual system would stretch doctors thin, increasing public wait times. The federal government confirmed it's in discussions with Alberta to ensure Canadians continue to receive medically necessary care based on need and not the ability to pay. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
All right, time for a quick little break. When we return, your complete maritime weather forecast on a blustery, rainy, windy kind of night around here. Kaylin will tell us how long it lasts and what's next. We come back. All right, it's Monday night. It's still the 16th day of March, and it's still storming outside.
Yeah, it certainly is. And when we left off, we were talking about the winds with this weather system and how they are already high tonight, but they get even stronger for parts of the region for tomorrow. Let's explain why this one is so windy. And that is because the Maritimes is being squeezed between two particularly strong weather systems. There's a very strong area of high pressure that's centered off towards the east of us, and there's that very strong low pressure system. This is a storm system making its way to southern Ontario and into the St. Lawrence River Valley and through Quebec. And you can see all these white lines lining up between those two weather systems. Those are isobars. That gives us a measure of the pressure gradient between the two systems where they cluster together. And you can see that's over the Maritimes. That's what's going to drive some of these high and gusty southerly winds. So already windy out there for tonight. Start of the day for tomorrow, though, some of the strongest southerly winds start to move in. And that'll start early in the morning in the southwest of New Brunswick, the southwest of Nova Scotia, around the coastline, higher terrain, peak gusts reaching 90 kilometers per hour. In this area, a very strong south winds will continue to progress from the southwest off towards the east as we move through Tuesday morning and into Tuesday afternoon. So those strong winds moving up the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia into the east of that province, including Cape Breton. Remember, they'll be even stronger for northern Inverness County in Cape Breton because of the topography of the Cape Breton Highlands. Now, moving later into Tuesday evening and Tuesday night, the wind direction becomes west, and those overall winds begin to diminish a little bit, and gusts will come down to the range of around 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. Of course, as the winds ramp up, it's accompanied by rain, drizzle, and fog, and that continues to move in for tonight and for Tuesday. Final round of rain with this weather system moves through Tuesday morning into Tuesday afternoon for most of the Maritimes. However, some rain will linger for eastern areas of Nova Scotia, including Cape Breton, into Tuesday evening before finally clearing off towards the northeast. And behind it, the cloud cover begins to break up a little bit. Might even be some peaks of sunshine in the afternoon for parts of New Brunswick, but temperatures start to become a little bit colder, and they're going to be colder for the middle of this week. Now, temperatures for tonight, though, are rising across the Maritimes. In fact, by early tomorrow morning, a lot of temperatures in the region will be in the range of around 8 to 12 degrees. Now, New Brunswick gets through onto the colder side of this weather system first, so there, temperatures will fall from the morning into the afternoon to a range of around 0 to 4 degrees. Southern areas of New Brunswick, though, likely to still have some milder temperatures through the first part of the day on Tuesday before they'll begin to fall. So some highs there of 10 to 15. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow with high temperatures of 10 to 14 degrees. Rainy and windy weather continues to move through. And for Nova Scotia, the rainy and windy conditions will be accompanied by relatively mild temperatures, 10 to 15 degrees in Cape Breton. Also looking at low to mid-teens around the eastern shore and the north shore. Northern and central areas of Nova Scotia for tomorrow with high temperatures of 10 to 14 degrees and initially very mild as rainy and windy weather moves through the southwest of the province with some highs there between 12 and 16. Does get colder, though, Tuesday night into Wednesday. So some colder temperatures coming up for Wednesday. After that, on mixed sun and cloud for New Brunswick, it'll be chilly on Thursday. The potential for some snow Friday night, followed by a chance of flurries on Saturday. Mix of sun and cloud for Sunday, and then a chance of flurries on Monday of next week. For Nova Scotia, the forecast, rainy and windy St. Patrick's Day for tomorrow, and then cold to chilly temperatures follow for Wednesday. There's a chance of flurries on both Thursday and Friday, and a mixture of some flurries and showers in the start of the weekend for Saturday. Mix of sun and cloud for Sunday, and then a chance of flurries on Monday of next week. And for Prince Edward Island, a rainy and windy Tuesday, St. Patrick's Day, and then colder for Wednesday, mix of sun and cloud with highs around -4. Near 0 on Thursday with a chance of flurries. On Friday, chance of flurries, high near +2. Flurries and showers in the forecast for Saturday, followed by mix of sun and cloud, a little bit chillier for Sunday, and a chance of flurries on Monday of next week. Bruce.
March marches on, eh?
That's right.
It does. All right, thank you, Caitlin. We'll see you again tomorrow. Stay with us. Be right back.
The #1 morning show in Halifax. Turk, Megan, and Amateur Alex. And home to the biggest artists. Halifax's #1 hit music station. 101.3 Virgin Radio.
Okay, as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast tonight, gas prices, of course, have been rising quickly right across the region, brought on by the ongoing war in the Middle East. With no end in sight, some people are now considering switching from gas to electric vehicles. CTV's Vanessa Wright looked into that.
Maritimers are still cringing at gas prices. Early signs suggest current prices may be what's fueling an interest in electric vehicles.
It's still a little bit cheaper than gas, but it's always quite a bit cheaper. So that's always been a driving factor. And when the prices go up so much, like they have been the last few weeks, that's usually just that extra incentive that makes people think about that cost a little bit more.
It's a switch some Maritimers would consider making.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, all in all, I think probably it would be better if all cars were like that. But, you know, it's a little expensive to make the switch over, so I understand that. But I think if you can do it, then it's probably the best way to go.
When I win the lotto, I'm going to buy an electric car.
But others don't plan on driving electric anytime soon, even if that means paying more at the pump.
I don't think I'd go electric. I would go hybrid if I ever got one again.
Sampson admits there are changes that come with having an EV, so it's important to do your research. Vanessa Wright, CTV News.
Okay, so it's now Tuesday morning, which means it's a perfect time to tell you that there was a kickoff to St. Patrick's Day festivities in Halifax today.
Good job.
There it goes, the Irish flag raised at Grand Parade over the noon hour downtown today. The city's Irish roots extend right back to the founding of the city in the mid-1700s. Much of the population, in fact, of Halifax identifies as having Irish lineage. Of course, the party will really get going at the Irish pubs early tomorrow morning. There'll be music, breakfast, and possibly there might even be some beer. Who knows? That's your late news for tonight. Just a reminder, if you tuned in late or you'd like another look at anything you've seen, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. It's your home for news updates right around the clock. I'm Bruce Frisco. Thank you for staying up late with us tonight. Have a good evening. I sure hope to see you again tomorrow.